Get downloading the One Football app. It is free. The link is in the description for that. All the latest news, your transfers, your gossip, stats with Newcastle United. Every football fan needs it.
Hello everybody and welcome to Newcastle Fans TV. My name is Will Dixon and yes, it has been a while since I've been on this channel, but the sun is out and I decided that I would talk about Dwight Gayle, the latest developments for him, and what's going on and how that might affect Salomon Rondon. So, for those of you that don't know, last summer Newcastle struck quite a bespoke deal which saw Salomon Rondon come to Newcastle on loan and Dwight Gayle go the other way on a loan deal to West Bromwich Albion in the Championship. Both successful loan deals. Gale scored 24 goals as West Bromwich Albion reached the playoff semi-finals and were knocked out on penalties by Aston Villa. And Salomon Rondon was, of course, voted Player of the Season for Newcastle. And a lot of people want Rondon to stay, most of all maybe being Rafa Benitez, and seems to be a bit of a deal breaker whether Rafa stays or not. And one of the ways that this was touted about happening was for Gale to go the other way and to join West Bromwich Albion permanently this summer in exchange for Rondon to come to Newcastle permanently. However, the technical director for West Brom, whose name is Luke Dowling, has completely ruled that out, and he told the BBC that Dwight Gale's contract is a Premier League contract. Now, one thing to remember here is that in order to convince Dwight Gale to move to West Brom, because he didn't actually want to leave Newcastle last summer, we actually improved his deal without extending any more years, so he just got more money in order to convince him to go to West Brom and allow Salomon Rondon to come to Newcastle. Darling keeps going and saying, "We will pay Premier League contracts, but only when we are back in the Premier League. I know it won't be news Albion fans want to hear, but they need to trust us and know we are doing everything right for this football club. We don't want to keep players on big contracts and then have to lay off normal staff and make people redundant. We have good people behind the scenes. We want to do that and still have a really competitive wage bill on the pitch, which we will have next year." So obviously West Brom keeping after their finances. No one really knows how much Gale is on. And, you know, while I'm sure a lot of people would say that if they sold Rondon for the £16.5 million fee that's been tweeted about, then the wages either way, plus the transfer fee, would be able to balance that out. But we don't know what West Bromwich Albion's accounts are like. There's other factors to take in, and I'm sure they've taken all of this into account. I mean, with Gale scoring 24 goals, you would think they'd be very, very keen to keep him and probably do everything in their power to keep him. But they've obviously made a decision which doesn't hit their wage bill too hard. You know, it must be remembered that when Newcastle were in the Championship, to a significant degree, we were bankrolled. Yes, we were helped out by deals by Wijnaldum and Sissoko, but in order to make a profit in that window, but still, we were bankrolled quite a bit, and we did gamble a lot away to make sure we got out of the Championship at the first time. West Bromwich Albion didn't. That's going to hit them really, really hard. We've seen that with some clubs that keep paying Premier League wages in order to get players in that they think can get them up. They don't get up, and then they eventually fall back down. We've seen this happen with like Birmingham, Bolton recently have had a really tough time. So yeah, it looks like if Gale is to be moved on, he's going to have to find somewhere else. As it currently stands, from my understanding, Rafa Benitez sees Dwight Gale as a way to get Salomon Rondon to Newcastle. That was talked about being a straight swap, as I said, but for now, that's not going to happen. If Rondon is to come in, there's a £16.5 million fee. There's interest from other clubs. So if Newcastle want him, it looks like they're going to have to pay it. Obviously, this is all depending on what happens with Rafa Benitez, because if Rafa Benitez doesn't stay at Newcastle, it's very unlikely Rondon is going to come back either. But if Rafa does stay, I think Rondon would certainly be in the conversation, and I would think it would be probable that he would be back at Newcastle next season. But obviously for the boards, it's well known that the board didn't want to sign Rondon last season, and they have been proved wrong with Rondon's season that he had with us. However, long term, a £16.5 million deal for someone who's going to turn 30 in September doesn't make much financial sense, and I do understand it from that point of view. However, if Gale goes the other way and we get his wages off and we get a £10 million transfer fee, let's say, then that does make it seem that bit better, because it's therefore only a net spend of £6.5 million and then the wages and how they go. But yeah, let us know what you think on this. I'm going to throw to Carl now to get his thoughts on this.
So, Salomon Rondon and Dwight Gayle, I mean, the whole situation is just typical Newcastle, isn't it? I mean, it's typical Newcastle. It reminds us what happened with like Remy a couple of years ago. Did well on loan at Newcastle, and we could lose him through pissing about and not being quick enough to get him. I mean, it just smells of the Ashley regime. It just smells of just the utter shit we have to put up with as fans. Who would I prefer? I mean, Will's went through all the facts and figures of both strikers. The facts will tell you Rondon's a much better striker. Rondon offers more. Rondon got player of the year for a reason. I mean, Gale, I appreciate everything he did in the Championship for us, and I appreciate all the goals he scored in the Championship, but I just don't think he can make the cut of the Premier League. I mean, the season we came up with, promotion season, he scored 6 goals in 30 games. I mean, like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's a massive difference there. Rondon contributed to over 40% of Newcastle's goals. Gale came nowhere near that in his season at the club in the Premier League. So Rondon's obviously the better striker. You know that. I know that too. Will knows that. Lee knows that. Everyone on the channel knows that. So, you know, I'd obviously we all prefer Rondon. It's just down to the club and whether they can sort it out, basically. Back to you, Will.
Thanks, Carl. Insightful as always. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Do you want to see Gale leave? Do you want to see Rondon come back? Where would you sell Gale to? How much would you sell him for? Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to Newcastle Fans TV. And I'll see you later. Bye-bye.